Have you ever found a role online that you thought you were perfect for? You looked at the job description and you said, I am a perfect match. I like this company. I want to apply. You end up applying and you talk to a recruiter and you go, that went pretty well. But for whatever reason, that is where it ends. You are never sent forward to a hiring manager. You never get to speak to the hiring manager or your potential future team. Well, not only have I been this recruiter where I've talked to a candidate and decided they're not a good enough fit, I'm not going to move them forward, but I've also been this candidate for recruiting roles. And one of the reasons this happens is because there are certain questions you absolutely have to get right. When you were talking to HR, when you were talking to a recruiter, there is no room for error here. You have to nail these questions. In this video, I'm going to give you 7 of those questions, why they are asked, and how to answer them to make sure that you get moved forward to the decision maker. Let's go. Hi, my name is Ben White with Ben Talks Talent. I've got 11 years experience in interviewing, recruiting, hiring, talent acquisition, team building, and I am passionate about using my experience to help you become the best candidate possible. If you came to my channel because you were hoping to learn things that'll help you be the best candidate possible and land your next job and maximize your job offer, well, guess what? You came to the right place. In today's video, I'm going to talk about the questions you absolutely cannot afford to get wrong when you are talking to an HR person or a recruiter, typically in a first round interview. But before we do that, before we get into those questions, if you could do me a quick favor, take 3 seconds and hit subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the notification bell. That way you never miss one of my videos. And I want to thank you in advance for liking this video. If you find value in it, if you learn anything, please hit that like button. It is free for you and it tells YouTube that I don't suck and it helps me a ton. So with that being said, with that out of the way, let's jump right into the question. Now the first question I want to talk about is the question, what do you know about our company? Now, when I was a corporate recruiter, I asked this question to every single candidate. I would get on the phone and one of the first things I would do is, what do you know about our company? And I can't tell you how many times a candidate did not know. They applied to a bunch of roles, right? And they got a handful of interviews and they just went to those interviews and they assumed their knowledge at what they do would be enough. It is not enough. If you do not answer that question correctly, you will not get moved on to the next interview. It almost doesn't matter how you do for the rest of the interview, unless you have an incredibly rare skill set that they absolutely need and they cannot find anybody else, they won't move you forward. They will literally say, this person didn't prepare. They're not super interested in our company. Let's move them out of the process. Let's move forward with other candidates. That is the first one. You have to have something prepared. When they ask you, what do you know about our company? Unless you have something prepared, unless you are ready to speak intelligently to the company, what you know about them, what they do, and why you like them, you are not going to get moved forward. The next question I want to talk about is, why do you want this job? Or why do you think you're a good fit for this job? This is a question that's going to get asked almost every single time. Most of these questions are questions you're going to encounter, but this is one that's really easy and it's a layup. And if you prepared and you're interested, it is going to be one of those questions where you absolutely crush it and you move on with your life. But if they ask you the question, why do you want this job? And you don't have an answer, think about how that looks for a minute. It looks terrible. You will be out of the process immediately. So one of the things that you need to do is you need to come with an answer here. You need to touch on one of a few things. So you want to touch on why the company is a good fit for you and why you are motivated specifically to pursue them. And you need to talk about how the company, how this role is actually a great fit for your skills. Your background, your experience, your education, certifications have positioned you to make a great impact immediately in this role. You are a strong candidate. That's why you're interested. Bonus third thing, if you talk about their culture or values, if you find that on their website and you talk about how that is aligned, that is another big bonus to make you come off as a great candidate. But if you don't do those things, you will not get moved forward. Speaking of that, let's talk about that. One of the things that I want to talk about is culture and values. If a company asks you, what makes you think you would be a good fit for our culture? Or do you think you share value alignment with us? If you don't get this right, you will not get the job. You will not move forward. Here's the thing about this question. A lot of companies will not ask you this question. Right? A lot of companies, you'll go through their entire interview process and they will never ask that. Granted, if you think that, you're right. However, if a company asks you this question, it's because it matters to them and it matters a ton. I do kickoffs every day where I'm talking with clients, we're talking about their role, we're talking about what we need to go find them so they hire that person. And the ones who care about culture say it right away. I say, hey, what are the must-haves? What are the things that you absolutely need this person to have in order for you to hire them? And if culture really matters to them, the first thing out of their mouth is they need to be a culture fit for our company. So if a company asks you this and you don't have an answer, you are not going to get moved forward because it is that important to them. What you need to do is go to their website, go to their About Us section. They will have their culture there. Write down their cultural values and think about how you could answer questions around that. Why are you a good cultural fit? How do you have value alignment? I am telling you, if you get asked this question and you don't immediately have an answer, you might as well assume your chances of landing that job are as good as dead. The next thing that you need to be prepared to answer is the question, what makes you a better fit for this role than other candidates? What is happening here? If a recruiter asks you this role, what does it mean? Well, basically what they're doing is they're asking you, in part, to do their job for them. When they present candidates to the hiring manager, what do you think that looks like? Imagine they have 3 or 4 candidates. And the hiring manager goes, okay, well, Ben, who are your top 2 candidates? Candidates who provide a great answer to this question get moved forward because they've basically done the recruiter's job for them. The recruiter can go, Ben said this. Well, I think you should move forward with Ben. He's better than some of the other candidates because of A, B, C, D. So this is really important. It's a great way to make sure that you get moved around to the next interview. So how do you answer this well? You need to do a few things. One, you need to look at the job description, look at your resume, see where the overlap is and see where the misalignment is. When you can speak to the things that the person has to have for what they are hiring for, and you can say, I've done this, that makes me a great fit, that's a huge win. The other thing you need to do is you need to talk about how you are different. So most of us have something that's called an unfair advantage. What do you have with your background that makes you uniquely qualified for a role? Whenever you're answering this question, what makes you a better fit for this role than other candidates? Talk about your foundation of why you are well qualified, and then 2, talk about your differentiator. Maybe you were in another role that gives you a different perspective. Maybe you have a higher level of education. Maybe you can speak multiple languages, and that plays well for a role like this. Those are the things you need to do. If you can do this well, not only will you get moved on to the next round, assuming you are qualified, but you have a better chance and sort of an inline track to landing the job. So think about this, come prepared to answer this question. The next question you need to answer well is any technical question. So in my time as a recruiter, I have placed tons of really technical roles. I'm talking about front-end developers. I'm talking about test engineers. I'm talking about welding engineers. Here's the secret. I am not good at any of that. I am not a technical person. I am not handy. If a light bulb goes out in my house, I consider outsourcing it on Thumbtack. That is like barely an exaggeration. But I have interviewed thousands of these people. And one of the things recruiters do when they are not technical, and most of them that will be interviewing you are not actually going to be technical by trade, what they will do is they will ask the hiring manager, excuse me, hiring manager, can you give me 2 or 3 interview questions I can ask so that we know if the recruiter, if the candidate has a good answer, it is worth your time to speak to them. And if they don't have a good answer, we can discard them. So when a recruiter asks you a technical question, guess what? This is that question, so you have to be able to answer it well. Now, what can you do to prepare for this? You just kind of have to know your stuff. You're in your field, you look at the job description, right? And just assume that all of those must-haves or requirements, it's potential for a question to come out of that, right? If they say you have to have experience with A, B, C, D, you need to think about your experience with A, B, C, and D and have technical responses ready to talk about your proficiencies with those skills. There you have it. That is really important right there because a recruiter won't know if you're right or wrong, but they will know if you don't speak with confidence and they will forward your exact answer to the hiring manager. So you've got to bring it on that question. The next one is, it's kind of open-ended, but it's salary. One of the things you can do is you can price yourself out of a role. So whenever you're asked a question, like what are you looking for salary-wise? Most good recruiters will ask you this question. And there's a few ways to handle it. If you want to watch a full video on it, and I would recommend doing it, go to my popular videos upload and look at my salary negotiation videos. It is a 12-minute tour de force on everything you need to do to maximize your salary. But if you don't have time to watch that and you're about to go into an interview, let me just give you the quick bit right here. I always say, you know what, to me, salary is not the most important thing. I'm open to a fair offer that's commensurate with my experience. Hopefully that is enough. But if they ask you for a salary, never give a range, give a number, because if you give a range, you'll get the bottom of that range. But if you say a number that is way above the salary range they've been provided, the recruiter, the HR person, that is a reason why you might not get moved forward. So do your research. Go to salary.com and actually look up what is an acceptable range for this and try to turn it around first. If you can get them to give you the range, that is a big key. So I'm open to a salary that is commensurate with my experience. What are you guys paying for this role? Or what is the range for this role? And if you can get them to say that, that's a much better way. The last thing that you need to do is you need to make sure that you don't rule yourself out by answering a specific question wrong. And that question could be, what do you like about your current job? Or what do you dislike about your current job? So what does that have to do with getting knocked out of the process? Well, if they ask you, Ben, what do you dislike about your current job? And you say a bunch of things that are in the job description for what you're gonna be doing on a day-to-day basis, they're not gonna move you forward because they're gonna think, oh, Ben would hate this job. Let's find candidates who actually wanna do this job. So if I was interviewing for a VP of talent acquisition or a senior director of talent acquisition, and they said to me, Ben, what is it you like least about your current job? And I said, I really dislike managing people's day-to-day work. I just find it tiring, fatiguing. That is a terrible answer because I know for a fact that those are the things you would need to do in this role. So how do you avoid this? How do you avoid this massive mistake? Well, what you do is you look at the job description, find out what you're going to be doing, and if they ask you this question, Ben, what do you like least about your current role? You cannot say the things that are in the daily task of the role you were interviewing for. That is literally going to get you thrown out of the process immediately. Nobody wants to submit someone who is going to tell the hiring manager, I hate everything I'm doing and that I need to do to be effective in this role. But your recruiter sent me to you anyway. Nobody wants to be that recruiter. If you say things that make us go obviously not a fit, you will not get moved forward. So there you have it. Those are the things that you have to nail. If you do these things wrong, if you answer these questions wrong, you will not get moved forward. You could be the best fit in the world for this opportunity, but you'll never get the chance to talk to the hiring manager if you mess these things up. So don't. I hope this helps. If it did help, do me a favor, leave me a like. Again, it is easy, free, and helps me a ton. Good luck in your next interview. You've got this.